I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Parks, Rec, and Trails Commission. If our clerk would please call the roll.
Yes. Commission Chair Marty Rosen.
Here.
Commission Vice Chair Bill Zimmerman.
Not here. He is delayed, but he will be here later.
Okay. Commissioner Tom Gidroys.
Here.
Commissioner Ken Gott. Here. And Commissioner Richard Croy.
Here.
Okay. Tom, would you please?
Please join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tom. There are no presentations, so that brings us to the approval of meeting minutes of December 18. Are there any changes required? Hearing none, I would ask someone to make a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Say aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved unanimously. Are there any changes to our agenda, Margarita? No. No, okay, so the agenda is approved. And that brings us to public comments on non-agenda items.
We do have one public comment from Mr. Ken Wojtek.
Ken, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. My name is Ken Wojtek, and I'm a physically active senior resident citizen of the Sun City area of Menifee, and as such, I'm interested in your proceedings. I'm also a political activist, and as such, I think I understand the needs and wants of many seniors in this community, and that's what I'm here to address this evening. Some of those needs and wants, I believe, are valid and deserve, I think, some consideration by you as a group. So I only have three, so I'll make it brief as I can and to try to get to the meat of the matter. There was a survey conducted in 2013 by the city requesting the essence of senior wants and needs as a community, and a result of those made public transportation and public transit capability uppermost in the minds of most seniors. And with that in mind, I'm here tonight to recommend that the city undertake a study to look at public transit augmentation of the RTA arterial system downtown, which has a nice north-south corridor, so it can go further north and further south than we ever could before using the RTA facility. But we're lacking some shuttle or trolley service, if you will, from both sides of the 215 down to that nexus, so we can get people from the various communities and neighborhoods to get down there. And it's my understanding it's within your purview as a community development agency to have a look at these kinds of things and maybe get the city to do some investigating on what the cost may be, what the ridership could be, and so on. And that, I think, is probably primary in my addressing you this evening. The second issue I'd like to bring up is I've had occasion recently to go to the Drop Zone Water Park located over here on Trumbull Road in Paris at the border of Romoland. And it appears to me that the place is a fabulous facility. It seems to be underutilized. There was no cars in the parking lot at noon on Tuesday last. And as such, I'm a physical active swimmer, and I like to swim laps and things like that. And it seems to me a shame that that facility is going wanting for more use. They have about 2 or 3 different high school swim teams that practice there routinely Monday through Friday. And they also have a water polo team that works out there as well. And there's also a non-affiliated swim team that avails themselves of that facility on a regular basis too. But that leaves giant holes in the middle of the day when it might be ideal for seniors or for even young people during the summer to access that facility, and with some support from the city, whether it be financial support or whether it just be instituting a program and coordinating that kind of activity, I think it would be useful to open up that facility for use by Menifee citizens. I think at the same time, I've been pressing for a long time to get some kind of facility available for veterans, disabled veterans and stressed veterans as well, to exercise and to use the pool, because even if they're losing limbs and have serious injury, they're also able to do things in the water they can't do on land. And I've been pressing for that as well. The final issue that I wanted to bring up is that City Park has current issues as far as I'm concerned. My personal experience with La Ladera and over here at Wheatfield have indicated that it appears in some cases that there's been a breakdown or a lapse in what Valley Y is doing insofar as cleanliness, pickup is concerned, just generally maintenance. La Ladera has had washed out footpaths over there for the last several weeks after the storms that we suffered, and it's all just a mud pile now. We can't use it on that basis. At the same time, there's dog feces and things like that. People are just not keeping up, and my recommendation to this body is that you seriously consider enlisting a volunteer force to have people actually acting as guardians to protect our investment over there and to call to account some of the deficiencies that are evident in those parks. And I'd like to see that, and I'd like to volunteer myself and some of my colleagues as well to have a lookout and to make sure that that those parks are being maintained properly. Beyond that, if you don't have any questions, I have some flyers on the spring agenda for the drop zone facility, in case you're interested.
If you would just give it to our clerk, she would. Gentlemen, are there any questions for Mr. Whitecourt?
We also have Steve Ortley.
Wait 1 second. We haven't quite finished yet. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I can. Thank you for your involvement. I really appreciate you're a well-known person as far as your volunteerism and stuff, and I really appreciate it. What he said about the volunteer organizations, I think that's a great idea. I volunteer for the Forest Service volunteers, and we patrol on equestrians up in the mountains and stuff like that. And I think it'd be great if maybe you could, I'm sure there's a couple of organizations, and you could put a park volunteer organization together that would help in some of those things. I think that's a great idea. Maybe whatever we can do to, facilitate that would be great.
We were talking about at one time of trying to get together a group of people to be in each park, like a docent setup. I think a docent setup would be wonderful. It would have to be organized by our staff, just what Robert needs, more work. But I think it would be a great idea. I don't know how practical it is at the moment. We'll have to ask Robert about it. But I am definitely for that. Yeah.
Let's agendize that for the end of the meeting for next time.
Why don't you, when we get to that part, please bring it up and we'll bring it to the forefront again. Thank you, Ken. I
Thanks very
appreciate it.
kindly for your attention. I'll look forward to some progress. Thank you.
Robert,
We have another speaker.
well, I just want to deal with this one first. Could you look into the matter of an augmentation of some kind of transportation?
Yeah, we could. My recommendation is, as part of the park master plan, have the consultant examine connectivity between parks, not only on the trail portion, but accessibility through public transportation. That is a component of what they're going to look at. They do overlay many layers of accessibility when they consider the existing park network as well as the proposed parks. And so I think we should task them with assessing that as a primary, and then with build out, 5, 10, 15 years out, what's going to be needed in order to maintain and sustain the access, not only for seniors, but for the youth who may not have rides from their parents on a regular basis. So certainly I will make that a priority we had a kickoff meeting already with the consultant, and we're doing an inventory process right now. And I think us submitting an overlay of what our RTA network provides is part of that. So we can be sure to do it.
And what about the idea of contacting county about adding something to the water facility in Paris?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I had just asked this question at the end of last week about that facility in particular. Apparently, when the building, or when the site was first built, there was some monies given to the city from a developer to contribute to that particular facility. And then when it was located just outside of the city boundaries, the city, instead of submitting that toward the project, gave that to the county in order to do the project, because it wasn't going to be in city boundaries, as I understand. And so by doing so, we somewhat relinquished our accessibility rights. And normally when there's a joint use, you'd have a set number of hours, a window of time each day where public could have access to it. Currently, that's not the case. It doesn't mean that we can't sit down and chat with the county about what it would take, although I'm almost certain they would require some funding in order to see that through. I do know that the county is a little bit stressed financially to keep in the positive and operating a facility annually, so they're trying to find revenue sources right now.
Would you mind if I speak to Scott Bangle?
Feel free. I've been dealing through him as well as through his staff about the options that are available to not just us, but also the city of Paris for community use. So I know he's not shut off to the idea. I know that he has a bottom line to deal with too, though. Yeah.
As I'm a county commissioner for parks, I will speak to him and see what can be arranged.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just,
Go right ahead.
I would encourage Ken also to stay on it, because it's like everything else. If there's a need there, sometimes the people that make these decisions, the more you're on them and the more you say, hey, I've got a group of 150 seniors that want to utilize this facility, what can we do to make a regularly scheduled thing out of it? It happens pretty quickly.
Very good. The next speaker, please.
Steve Ortlieb.
Good evening, Commissioners. I just found out recently that you guys have your own little meeting here. I don't know if this is something that's been happening all along, but this is my first time. And I am here because I've got an idea I just kind of wanted to throw out there. And I think you guys are probably the right group for my suggestion. But first off, I wanted to find out about this park, because it has to pertain to a park that's over there off Howland Road. It's not even developed; it's undeveloped land by the lakes over there. And I was wondering if the city is going to take over that, because my idea or run it, I should say, because my idea has to do with, kind of who controls it. Valley-Wide's involved. I don't think it would go very far, because I've tried contacting them a few times, and it never, they never return my calls. But reason I came up with this idea is because I live over there in Menifee. I've lived bought a house over there about 5 years ago, so I've been around the area for a while now. And retired out here, so I probably will stay for a while. But I also have grandchildren that are in theater. And I've got to and I'm involved with them. I take them down to Temecula most of the time, maybe 2 shows a year. She's in for 2 productions a year. So I've been thinking, been driving by this park, and I started looking at this land, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, looks like it'd be a good spot for an amphitheater. And I wanted to throw that out there because we need something. I think it could be fairly easy to build, and the land's just sitting vacant. And I thought it might be something you guys would want to tour or just check out and throw it out there to see who might else be interested or think it's a good idea. And also, I am fairly busy, even though I'm retired. I do travel some and stuff, but I would even be willing to kind of put myself out there and see if we can raise some funds, get some donations going or something, if that's what it might take to get this thing moving. But then I also got to say, I also read that you got something you want to do over here on this side of the town, over there by supposedly a new city hall. And so I don't know if this would be a conflict with that plan that's happening over there. And I don't really know much about that. I wouldn't mind finding out, because again, that's something I'd like to see happen in the city, because I know there will be a bigger demand. I don't think there is right now, like in Myriad or Temecula, but I think it will start happening as more and more families and people move here. And that's that as far as my idea. I think it'd be excellent. And I've been to a lot of outdoor amphitheaters all around the country, from pretty much when I travel and where I used to live. So it's a real common thing. It's not unusual to see them outside, and they don't have to be fancy either. They don't have to be, big covered things, even though it would help a little. But it could just be grass, sloping grass, and a little stage, and that's all it take. But that's about it for that. And then I just wanted to ask another thing about your, you had mentioned, I forgot, consultant that you guys hired. And when are you guys going to start taking ideas and stuff like that? When does that kick in? And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Robert?
I'm glad the residents asking about this. Is the perfect time. The project that's on this side of the freeway is over in the Regent Town Center project. It's a dedicated 5-acre park with the focal point as an amphitheater, an outdoor amphitheater. It's in the planning phase right now. We've been reviewing working drawings. Tonight, future item 8.4, we're going to go through all the future park sites, and you'll be able to see a conceptual of it. That one's actually probably closest on the horizon to be done within a year. So it's very, very close.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Oh, yeah. And then relative to the park master plan process, community meetings are to occur in February and March. So a lot of advertising will be put out there. The community will be made aware of when the meetings are, where they will be, and they'll be at times where the community can attend, so that they don't have to miss work to be there. So they are forthcoming too.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Dines?
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, Mark Dines.
Please, come on.
Good evening, council, commissioners, I'm sorry. I came all the way from San Diego to be here because I said to my boss, I need to be at this meeting. Alan Yoon I've communicated a lot with, and I just want to say I love Menifee. I have fallen in love with Menifee. I originally was from Escondido, actually grew up in Ramona. Father built his house, bought the land, My father was a very hardworking man, and I didn't like the city. I mean, the country. When I first came there, I said, "My God, Dad, what did you do? You threw us all out here." And then afterwards, you adjust and you think, this is the only place, this is the kind of life to live. You know, you're not so close and everything. Well, I live next to Nova Park. I think I live in a little piece of heaven, actually, out there, to tell you the truth. I love my home. I love where I live. I am on the board of my association because I want to be involved in my community. I am such a person who believes in improvement, positive things, and I think Menifee's just headed to that direction. I really like coming to the city council meetings and seeing things happen and seeing a city being built, you know, sort of like from the ground up, and all the little ideas and everything people have here. But I've actually came because, first of all, I want to thank you for removing the soccer poles that were in Nova Park. And I want to tell you why, because I live in slightly aside from that soccer pole, and many people come there and the ball hits my garage door. It's my neighbor who's right in front of it has had his hit. I've actually stood in front of my house one time, maybe 6 or 7 times, and they just go there and pick it up and they don't apologize. I'm thinking, these people come here, they leave trash all over the park. You know, they throw trash on the curb and they take off. Well, guess what? I go there and I pick it up. My neighbors may think I'm crazy or anal, but I thought, you know what? I'm not going to let that ruin my. If I let that go, it'll get worse, is what I think, you know. So I'm so proactive, and I just love where I live. So I've actually communicated with Alan, and I thought, thank God you took those poles down. Before I met, the first time with Alan was that I had a golfer hit my garage door. They were golfing in a park where they shouldn't be golfing at, and when I went to go after him, he took in his car and took off. Of course, he didn't want to face the consequences, and I had a little den in my garage door. And I thought, oh my God, is this what it's going to be here? You know, I love this park, but I didn't know the pros and cons of it, but I see it developing to a better spot. What our homeowners have expressed was, first of all, they really said, you know, I'm tired of people coming here and trashing our park. We take care of our houses, we have CCNRs, and then we look at that park and we see trash just spread everywhere when they leave. A lot of them do not leave. It's the dusk to dawn. Do I have that right? Or yeah, dusk to dawn. They don't leave at night. They'll stay sometimes till 8 to 9 o'clock at night playing in that park. That park is not lit. People say the security there is compromised because we do not know who's in that park, what they're doing. It's surrounded by, I think, 12 homes. So we have a 3-acre park surrounded by homes here, 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 and to the side here. The park probably wasn't thought of what it was meant to be by being around homes, not being out, you know, somewhere on the side. But there's been situations of people coming in there, they're smoking crack. We've called the police on that. Sex on the tot lot, believe it or not, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, young people out there. We've called the police on that. We've called the police on so many things with Nova Park. It is not lit. In essence, that may be good. It used to be monitored. We really liked it when it was monitored because at night they came 4 times sporadically. Homeowners had said, you know, we are tired of having to call the police all the time. It's not our job to look at this park and say, we got to call the police and look out for it. And I think it's been since the crash of the housing, we stopped. So, but 2007, 2008, we stopped the security there. And they've expressed that, you know, we're tired of looking at this park. It's not us to call. We're getting so tired of it. We saw a couple of Hispanic people dressed up, coming up. They were in their 30s. They went to the park like at 5 o'clock, and they just sat there like they're dressed up to go somewhere. And we kind of pondered that. They were there for hours, and I thought, are they waiting for a drug bust there? I mean, why would they come dressed up like that to come to our park? It's such a small park, and all we have is a tot lot, and we have these soccer poles. The police came out there, and somebody called and said, you know what, this really looks suspicious. That's just odd. Somebody would come up, and they would just sit there at the park bench. And we don't want our park coded as a place you can go and sell your drugs in a community surrounded by all these houses. So I spoke down and I thought, you know, I'd like to appeal some form of security. I know that the economy being what it is, but I think it's on its upscale because I know my my taxes increased $900 this year just in my house, and I'm sure that doesn't only cover the park, but everything else. And I expressed to him, I said, you know, there's got to be some form of watching this park, because at night, you'll hear people there, and the homeowners go, they hear people in the park, and they're like, what's going on? What's going on over there? Are they planning on, you know, like running up to us or doing something? So it's kind of like a little bit, if you're familiar, I don't know which one of you represent that part of Nova Park. I know isn't there, is it John Denver, I believe? He is our, yes, and I think there's somebody who sits in the park with him, or who's one of his. So the person who sits, is this a gentleman here, Thomas? No? I'm sorry, sir? Two. Oh, I thought it was John Denver. I'm almost sure it's John Denver, because I think he
District
introduced
one?
himself. And then,
Well,
then he has somebody, I guess, who sits with him in the park that he hired. He's one of his park.
yeah. All right, well, we can look at that again. We have looked at security. There is going to be a change in the times. We could change times for Nova as well. Or are we doing it system-wide?
Now, the recent adjustment of timing was at the discretion of the city manager relative to the health and well-being of the community, and it was in response to a concern from a resident over at E.L. Peterson Park, adjacent to the dog park, because the dogs were coming too early before the sun was even up and waking up the neighbors. There has to be some justification, some nexus for adjusting times outside of what's already listed in the ordinance of basically dawn to dusk. Even so, it sounds like the resident is concerned about enforcement more than anything else. And as you all know, the current oversight and monitoring of the park is conducted through our contract with Valleywide. And so there are some other items that need to be addressed prior to us ramping up security, let alone our increased maintenance and cleaning, which is a consistent challenge in all of our parks. So I don't know if that sheds enough light on it, but it certainly is on our to-do list, high up in priority.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say one thing if I can. We have a lot of dogs. They come to our park. They're just let loose. It's like 3 acres they see, and they're the homeowner, not generally the homeowners, it's other people that come to our park. And we have one sign posted, and it's posted in the tot lot area, and Nova Park borders Nova Drive, Star Drive, Maze Drive. So they drive up there and they just let them loose, and we only have one sign. And I think I emailed Alan and said, you know, can we add some signs, because this is ridiculous that they come here, they come here, let their dogs poo everywhere, they just put them back in the car and says, it's your problem, you deal with it, kind of like thing. And we look at this and we think, wow. So, and a lot of the residents actually have gotten scared. One lady I know, she was probably 60 or 65 years old. I was talking to her at Tot Lot. All of a sudden, somebody let their dog loose, and she just went, she got so scared. And I said, you know, no, I'll be with you. She says, they shouldn't do that. I said, no, they shouldn't.
Did she complain? Did she call and make a complaint?
I think so. I believe right. I think
Well,
so.
we
But
will
I mean,
look at the issue of Nova Park.
I appreciate
We'll put it on our agendas.
I think if
And
you
in
saw
the
park-
meantime, we'll ask the city manager if things that are going on in Nova might not be indicative of a change in times, and maybe additional signs.
And I know that maybe some of them may not pay attention, but at least it's there.
And the only other thing is, you know, the sheriff.
Yeah.
at-
Okay,
late
thank
at
you very
night.
much.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Are there any other speakers?
There are no additional speakers.
Okay. In that case, we will go to discussion item 8.1. At a recent meeting of the City Council, the MCAC, the Menifee Citizens Advisory Committee, was reinstated And they asked at that point that every commission and committee of the city appoint 2 people from their group to sit on it. I can tell you that the 2 people that have always been on it ever since its beginning was myself and Tom. However, I would like to ask the commission that we, I think, limit to 1 year and then shift so that each of the members of the commission can sit on it, at some point. And I know I'd be willing to take it for the first year, and we'll go from there.
2 members.
2 members, yes. Rick? Okay, go ahead.
I think that's a great idea. You guys have the experience with MCAC. They've done really valuable work. I think I'd be happy with having Chairman Rosen and Tom sit on that for the first year and then see how things go. And I think that's always a good thing to have the guys with the experience go first.
Any other?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I
ahead.
couldn't agree more with.
Can I have a motion, please?
Put that in the form of a motion, and I'll second it, and it'll be done.
Sure. I'll make a motion that we appoint to the MCAC Chairman Rosen and Mr. Gidroyce, with the term being 1 year and to be discussed at the end of that year, rotating that out to
Rotating
a couple new members.
two other members.
Before we vote, I'd like to ask one thing for discussion. Robert has, I'm sorry. One thing for discussion, and Robert can help with this. It's been the last couple of years, Valley White has come to MCAC and asked for CDBG money. And my concern is this going to give us any kind of a bias, or somebody might say we shouldn't be on that committee because of it? Sorry. Every year, Valley-wide comes to the MCAC and asks for money allocation, usually $10,000. Since we are directly interfacing with Valley-wide, my concern is, will we be seen as biased? Should we be excusing ourselves from participating on account of that, or how do we handle it? I thought I might ask Robert before we vote.
Yeah, the assessment that the MCAC members make of every applicant is it can be based off of prior year performance, can be based off of them meeting the minimum eligibility per the CDBG guidelines set forth by HUD and the city. And so unless, the only time there's a concern of conflict of interest is if any one of you is part of an organization that is submitting an application as well, in which case you would recuse yourself. The fact that Valley-wide has a contract with the city for maintenance and operations on really the west side of the I-215 is independent, because their application in prior years has really been for programs run out of their own facilities, not out of city facilities. So they are independent.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other,
In that case, I'm good.
okay, any other comments? In that case, can we call a vote? Do we need a roll?
Ken will second.
No, they're simply appointment, not. Yeah.
Okay. So, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, it's approved unanimously. Okay. Let's go to 8.2. The ownership summary for the utility corridor. Are we going to have a staff report?
Sure, I'll turn over the balance of that to Margarita Cornejo.
Oh, sorry, Margarita?
Yes, as you guys will recall, at the December 18th regular commission meeting, we had a brief presentation by Mr. Ray Hicks on the Southern California public utility corridor that crosses along the northern portion of the city. At the conclusion of the presentation, it was requested that staff come back with a map highlighting what the utility corridor properties are, as well as a parcel listing with ownership listing of those corresponding properties and the proposed trails. So what I have provided to you guys is a map of that, as well as a handout of the parcels. Just to highlight, the Southern California owned properties are in the green, and they go through the northern portion, as well as the utility corridor properties. They do also own various parcels within the city itself, and they're generally located a little bit southern, and then there's one a little bit close to Newport Road. You will also see some pink shaded properties. Those align with where the public utility corridor was identified, but at this time, per the Riverside County Assessor's information, appear to not be owned by Southern California Edison. So with that, that concludes our presentation. If you guys have any questions, we'll be happy to help.
Gentlemen, any feedback?
Yeah, just a quick question for Margarita. Mr. Hicks talked about the difference between owned properties and easements. Are those pink ones that we have here, those are not owned by Edison, but they could be an easement? Or?
They're not, I'm sorry, they're not identified as right-of-way. They could be, but if you look at the second page of the parcel listing provided to you, they appear to be either some type of business. It looks like Malaga 74 or Raymond Kroll, so they're individual persons.
Okay.
We'd have to research a little more to know what specific the property is.
Okay, thank you.
Typically, those are the easements. The ones that are in green are owned by Edison.
Is the city going to attempt to negotiate with those that are not owned by Edison to see about whether or not it's possible to put something on it? And I should say, or what we could put on it?
Yeah, the process would be that the outcome of the Park Master Plan study will identify the need for any parkway, whether they be trails, passive, active type of recreation in those areas, as a park drought, a park shortage in the north end. Their inventory will identify what available opportunities there are, whether they be through Edison-owned property or private parties, as they compile the acquisition table, which will be part of the final document. But again, you know, all of this information you have in front of you is simultaneously being provided to the consultant, so they are real-time made aware of what availability there is out there.
Tom? You did?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Is that it? Do we need to just accept this or not?
Yeah, it was provided at the request of the commission, just some of an FYI, since the master plan has been approved to move forward, this is just going to be valuable information for them to follow up on.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to 8.3, modification to the park hours.
Yeah, just very briefly, this particular ordinance is simply being provided to you as an introduction. Its formality is we were under some pressure to get this taken care of quickly for the benefit of the resident. We did feel it was a courtesy and the right thing to do to bring it to commission as well. It was presented at City Council last night as a first reading and presented to you tonight. Similarly, it allows for the adjustment of hours for a particular park or amenity within a park when certain conditions are or require it. As I mentioned before, health, safety, well-being of the community are taken into account, but the amendment to the ordinance and then amendment to the municipal code gives that authority to the city manager to adjust as needed, or his or her designee. And the only park in question currently has been E.L. Peterson Dog Park. Other adjustments would have to be taken on a case-by-case basis, first before this commission, and then with the concurrence of the city manager.
Thank you. Excuse me, thank you. Are there any questions of the commission? Hearing none?
Wait, I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
Go
just
ahead.
thought of this. Now, this pertains only to the P. Peterson Park.
No, I actually can apply to any and all parks. The way it was drafted, the language was drafted would allow us the flexibility to do this at any city-owned facility.
So it also addresses parks that are within Valleywide's purview?
No, only city-owned facilities.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Are there any further comments? Please. Tom.
I think this is a good move, and I think it's the right thing to do. And it's a start, and it might even help address some of the problems that we've heard here tonight by our speakers. And I think we should move forward with it.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything that we need to do?
You just make a recommendation for city council to adopt the ordinance.
Okay. Could we have someone to make a motion to do that?
I'll move.
To it? And
I'll second.
we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor? So moved. Okay, that brings us to 8.4, review of parks in progress. And Robert, is that you?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Chair.
Let's go right ahead.
This is, I know, one you all have been waiting for some time, and it took a lot of consultation with our planning staff. There are many moving parts to this, many development projects in town. The list that was provided in your staff report has had a couple of minor updates, which I'll review today in this overview. But we're going to endearingly call this our PIP and hopefully refer to it on a regular basis, so you guys are all updated on the latest and greatest out there in the field. Oh, it's not working. Oh, gotta turn it on. Hold on. Okay. So first slide is a replication of what's in your staff report, attached to your staff report. Total of about 23 tracks that have parks proposed and that are in one stage or another of development. And development could mean anything from construction all the way back to barely having their final map submitted for review by Planning Commission. So there's a lot of, I guess, leeway within, when you look at these, there's a lot of, I guess, variation on the completion. So we'll try to inform you of where each one is at as we go through. And we will go through it in this order as well. So you can follow along. I provided hard copy for you. Some of the maps aren't the greatest because many were adopted or approved by the county back before digital copies were required. And so some were scanned and some were just photographed, but we've done the best we can with what we've got so far. So the first one is the Hidden Hills Track 30142-2. This has been one that's been of interest to several of the community members as well as some of the commissioners. This is the one that's located just south of Newport, but east of, I guess that's east of Hahn. And essentially this is the KB Home Development, and so far they did submit working drawings for this, and some edits were made, some comments were made to those drawings and sent back. However, the developer has not moved forward in submitting another set of drawings with corrections, and have been holding off on developing the park because the way the conditions were written for that particular for that track obligated them to do it by the final building permit for the first track. So they've moved on to the second track, started building, there's a bit of a loophole in the way the conditions were written. So our legal counsel is reviewing that and trying to find ways that we can reassert the authority of the city to have them move on the park quickly because the community is overdue for it. What you have here is just, I've compared the match lines from a couple of the sheets. This is the basic footprint of the park. It is a 5.1 acre park with open space, tennis court, picnic facilities and whatnot. It's very general, more of a passive park with a larger open area for various types of play. And feel free to stop me anytime you had questions on these. So if this one is located just south of Newport, but west of Hahn Road. So beyond the Regent development, if you were to continue west on Newport and turn left approximately around, Alan, feel free to help me out. I'm trying to remember the street. Evans, yeah, you could go down Evans. It's actually behind the second community. There's another community in front of it that is also dual park, which we'll give you an update on as well. So a little further down.
Okay.
The next one is Menifee Heights. I'll apologize for the blurriness of this. This one is CV Communities Development. I'll refer back to the list and kind of explain what dedication column means. That essentially means the developer at the completion has been required a condition to give the park to an agency to maintain. And typically, developer has a choice. They can either keep it private as an HOA, they can give it to the city, or they can hire somebody to do it all themselves, which typically would still fall on HOA. The option for Valleywide to be the dedicated party or the deeded party would have only applied to projects that were previously approved on the east side of the I-215 within their existing LLMD districts, okay? Most of what you're seeing tonight are projects that have been conditioned or in the conditioning phase now, which means they would not be required to annex into the existing LLMD, and as such, the final end user and resulting dedication party would be the city. These parks and communities would then annex into the citywide CFD that was recently approved by City Council.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I'm familiar with this project. It's in my neck of the woods, as they say. So this park will be a city-owned park?
That is correct. It is the very first development that is 100% in the new citywide CFD.
This particular project is, we worked with the developer on this to put the trails and stuff around it. It's a fantastic looking project, and it's got connective trails for the equestrian community over there, and it's good stuff. Thank you.
Yes, and the developer has been really good about, complying with our regional trail requirements. Up through if you look at the picture on the left, in the bottom left corner, you'll see open space. Basically to the southwest, there are trails running through there that they are conditioned to develop and then replant around with an establishment period. So this is kind of very unique and will be dedicated to the city.
Yeah, we ride up in those hills all the time, and the trail that they have planned, they even have a little kiosk up there with a water feature it's going to be really nice.
And we're dealing with almost 10 acres. Do we have any idea of when it would be put in?
Well, CV Communities typically hasn't been a builder. They will entitle the land and then sell it. As we understand, they have a buyer in mind who's very eager. I don't want to disclose at this point because I don't know if they will go with it or not. But
Okay.
if
That's
they
fine, but that's
usually
great.
if they have a builder in mind or a buyer in mind, it's about ready to turn over. So
That's wonderful.
yeah.
Thank you.
The next one is considered The Lakes, for lack of a better name. This is also called PA18, track 30422. The conceptual that's on the screen there actually doesn't do justice to the stage that it's in now. This was an early concept. I couldn't find a digital version of what the latest working drawings show. This depicts one baseball field, a soccer field, and then smaller other amenities. The latest version that's in the final working drawings includes 2 baseball fields, soccer field, and then, of course, associated structures that you see here with a much larger parking area. So this is another CV Communities project. However, this one was conditioned and approved by the county a long time ago, and it's already falls within the Valleywide LLMD. So this will not be a city-owned park. It will be a Valleywide park. However, it will benefit the entire public.
Just a question. Aren't all of the parks going to ultimately end up in the city?
They'll be within the city boundaries, but if they were approved by the county prior, meaning the trap map, the final map, and the conditioning with that, require them to annex into the LLMD, then there's nothing the city can do to try to acquire those as city properties. They're already being dedicated to Valleywide.
Thank you.
This project is actually under construction right now. I just signed all the Mylars for the landscape plans this week, including building and landscape. So this is down Newport Road, just as you're getting into the Audie Murphy Ranch community. This 8.78 acre park is primarily passive, but it has a number of active recreation courts, and so it's been I guess, termed as the courts, as the park name. It's sort of an elongated shape, but keep in mind, just down the road on the left-hand side, on the south side of the road, is what's called PA 39, or Audie Murphy Ranch Sports Park, which is already in existence. So this one, the developer would like to have completed by late spring, early summer. I don't know that they will get that far along, but we'll be eager to see how far they do get.
And this will be city.
This one would be city. This is actually already annexed into not the citywide CFD, but the Audie Murphy CFD, just an earlier CFD that was established in 2012, I believe. This one is not on your list. I threw this in here to show you the long-term goal of the Audie Murphy Ranch development. This is essentially the north side of Newport and the future tract developments for Brookfield Residential, who's a developer. They have identified essentially two major paseos, which you see sort of running off the top of the screen there. A private park, which is where the two red arrows are kind of in the middle. It'll have a private pool, HOA pool house, gated. And then off to the left, running up, it becomes a public park, as a linear park, as it leads into what's you see on the screen as PA 30, which will be a public park. This would round out the full inventory of parks that Brookfield's planning to provide for the city and for the residents of the Audie Murphy development. So these here, we have not received any formal conceptual drawings on or working drawings yet, but we know that they're getting ready to submit those shortly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Am I the only one that's having problem figuring out where these all are? I don't know where these are.
What do you,
I recognize the one where they have a road, Newport. But like this last one we just looked at, you said it was north of Newport, but I don't know.
There's Newport right there.
Okay, but it doesn't say it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. But whereabouts north of Newport?
We can,
Newport's long.
sure, we can provide a vicinity map. We can email it to you with all of these project numbers identified on it.
Yeah, I think
So-
it'd be helpful, yeah.
Sure.
At least for me.
Sure.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
The next one is Mahogany Creek, which is identified as having two parks incorporated into it. This one in particular, though, is already under construction. This is south of Newport, near, I'm sorry, not south of Newport. This is, you can see the identifiers on there, along Salt Creek, near Simpson Road in Lindenberg. Two parks, though, that were separated early on in the approval process. I understand there's been some discussion about if a tract comes to us, our preference would be that they combine the open space so that we can benefit from more amenities and more use types, and that's consistent with what we'd like to see throughout. But this one is near completion, was already approved, and is actually in the Valley-wide LLMD.
A quick question on this
Go
one.
ahead.
This along Salt Creek Channel there, that's an important connectivity to Trailhead Drive, which is right across the street. You can't see it on this map. I guess the only way to tell is to drive down there and look at it to see if they've put any sort of feature along Salt Creek Channel, the trail there, because that's going to connect us to Hemet.
Yes.
So,
And so one of the projects later on in the presentation will show you the county's Salt Creek Trail Plan and how it overlays in our community.
okay, great.
So there's some economy of scale between their project and each of these projects.
I take it that Park 1 is rather small?
Yes.
They don't give acreage.
No, but we could calculate that very easily.
Park 2 is bigger.
It's more of a linear park.
Yeah, it's linear. Okay, thank you.
The next one is the Mosaic development, also called the Terabella Park. This project has been bought and sold several times over the, I don't know how many years, it predates many people.
Something.
It's comprised of a couple of components. One is the actual active public park, and then just south of it is an open space conservation area that's gated as a part of a habitat restoration condition. And so, unfortunately, that space can't be developed or added to the park space. It has to be free to grow for the purpose of conservation. So, but the park component, we have not yet received any conceptual on it. We have not received any working drawings on it. This one also was approved previously by the county and is within the Valley-wide LLMD.
Sorry, quick question on this one too, because this is over off of Garbani. I know this has been going a long time, and you're right, it's way overdue. Just a quick question as far as that riparian part of that. Does the developer get Quimby credit for that?
For the habitat space? No, he does not. Only for the active usable park space.
Okay.
And the habitat space, the Riverside, what is that? Riverside RCA.
MSHCP?
Yeah, well, they're not going to allow anyone to walk into it?
It's actually the Fish and Game.
Oh, it is fishing game?
Yeah, they don't allow anyone to maintain it or access it. It has to stay as is. And the establishment period is 5 years, which we are at the end of right now. So one of the questions we've asked is, what happens after 5 years? The water gets turned off. There's no obligation from the owner to irrigate it at all anymore. It can be natural. But if the vegetation starts to die, brown up, since it's adjacent to homes, is there a fire risk? These are questions we're asking right now. Again, this is not going to be city property, at least not immediately, and so we're just preparing for what the community's feedback will be later on.
Yeah, I can honestly say I've never seen this before, where you have a riparian area next to a park, next to homes. I've
Yeah.
never seen it.
It's very unique.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, this is Eagle Crest, track 34037. It's located sort of in the north western part of town. The bordering road is Wheat Road. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I came across this one just last week. Apparently there's a new owner of the project, and they were trying to get some additional entitlement work done. And so the question related to this is that we expect them to submit a revised conceptual soon, but they did submit a request for compliance with our trails plan. So along Wheat, if you're looking at the big picture on the bottom left, Wheat runs on the far left side from bottom to top, and there's a trail identified along that. You see all those street trees there? That's actually part of a trail system that they've been condition to do. However, when it's compared with the city's trail plan, the one that was approved and recommended by the Trails Committee early on, has that regional trail on the other side of the development. So there are some inconsistencies that we're working through right now in trying to get the developer to swap that over to the other side of the project. The other side, I'm forgetting the name of the street on that other side of the development, but it does line up and coincide with our trails plan.
Yes. Rick?
No.
You have your hand on it. Okay, please.
This one is one you're familiar with. This is a Central Park plan, and the resident that came to speak during public comment, probably waiting eagerly for this piece. The amphitheater located within the Regent development and directly adjacent to the home of the future City Hall will look like this. We did receive the first set of working drawings, made our plan check comments, and have resubmitted that back. We'd expect to get something back from them in the next week or so. They are eager to get this built as well, as they feel it will encourage additional tenants and buyers of the lots that they have yet to develop. So we've combed through this pretty heavily and gone through a number of revisions. We're comfortable that this is going to serve the needs of the community as a central meeting point within the city.
Okay.
This next project is Cimarron Ridge. It is sizable at 10 acres and located within the city CFD, sort of northern part of town a bit. It does include quite a bit of open and active recreation amenities. Vandale Homes has been eager to move this project along. They have suggested that they would be building it, not selling it. So we're anticipating some quick movement on it. It is for 2 parks. It was previously approved, so there wasn't an opportunity to combine this as one. I did make the inquiry. And you can see by the vicinity map at the top, those 2 parks are, they're somewhat spread, but not tremendously. So they did make some concessions on this park plan by adding more parking. As you can see, they have 2 lots, one on the north and the south.
This is the one that's up near McLaughlin and Getz?
McLaughlin, I think, is the northern border.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then this is the one Edison has property
Adjacent to. That's correct.
Good.
Yes.
And we're going to take advantage of that?
We're going to try. Yes.
Good. Evans is next.
There we go. You are also familiar with these site plans. I'll say plural. This property is actually already owned by the city. It was dedicated to the city by, I think it was KB Homes back when they developed that tract number. So instead of building a park, they dedicated land, and I don't know for certain if there was any monies involved as well, but this was set aside specifically. So that the conceptual on the left was the initial conceptual that was done, and then there was some community meetings, and the conceptual on the right was the final product, because the proper boundaries of the city-owned portion is basically Coruscant all the way down to Craig. I know that question came up before. This is the proper ownership. Off to the right of that, which is to the east, is the school site, the high school site. Now, this one, as you recall, had a pretty high price tag on it. I think it was something like $14 million to do full build out of this. But again, this included aquatic facilities in addition to the athletic stuff. So there was a lot involved here.
Quick question, and this one also has is it a flood control requirement on here, on that bottom right?
On the bottom right, yeah, there's a pass through that we can't mess with. It has to
Right,
stay as
Blue line
is.
stream, basically.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And just so you know, there is no developer working on this. This is purely a city project. Once the funds are available, it is a priority question.
All it takes is money.
Yes.
Is this the park we were talking about, a land swap to try and get it all in one parcel?
I think only before realizing that the plan on the left was the original thought of what the city owned. Craig does not dissect it. It's actually north of Craig.
Okay.
Okay, this is the Salt Creek Trail that I think most of you are familiar with. Staff's been meeting with the county on a couple of occasions to work through some of their staging and planning for this. They're still in design phase. Sections A and B are the portions that run through the city from east to west or west to east. It does continue further east all the way past Diamond Lake and beyond into Hemet. And it's a pretty aggressive and robust trail connectivity plan that they're going after. I think it's a good project. What I did do is overlay that small map on the bottom right hand there. It is on a prior slide, a little blown up. This is the Audie Murphy PA 30 and then the linear park that I mentioned before, because they are already planning to do trail development along the bottom edge of the public park. So what we've done to try to coordinate this with the county is see if the county can save some of its funds to apply to the rest of the project, and Brookfield would be able to develop the trail segment within their project to the same spec so that they match and they line up evenly. A and B are two segments that the county is starting now. They're not delaying on. Further east, they don't have the funds for yet. So the upside is City of Menifee benefits from the immediate development, while some of the other communities to our east have to wait until more dollars come through.
And just as a point of information, we've used up 8.1 million.
I believe it. There's a lot involved in this. If they, getting easements from Caltrans, and there's a lot to this process. And so I applaud not only Regional Park and Open Space, but also County Transportation, who's project managing this. It's going to take a while. Diamond Brothers project is actually two different tracks, and I'm going to do my best to distinguish the two here. This map is rotated, so north is actually to your right. Dominagoni splits the two tracks somewhat, and what you see sort of south of Dominagoni is the first park space. There's a linear component and then sort of an open component. We do not have a conceptual design on it yet. They haven't submitted it yet, but this first component makes up approximately 1.52 acres. And then across the way north on Dominagoni, is the rest of it, which is a little larger at 4.8. Again, these maps have already been approved, and so we couldn't consolidate this any better. It would have been nice to, but it still does provide a decent amount of open space for active uses. But we are eager to look forward to the conceptual designs when they're ready. And these would be these would be city CFD as well, even though they're on the east of the freeway. They do not fall within the existing LMDs, and the final maps, even though the maps have been approved, the rest of it has not. So. Cottonwood, and I'll apologize for this. I didn't have a nice rendering on file for this particular project. Pacific Communities, actually this was approved quite some time ago in 2007, and per the conditions and the plans that were approved, the full working drawings have already been approved, start to finish. So if this development wanted to build this right now, they could. They just haven't hit their threshold for number of homes within the tract to require them to build it all the way yet, but it was approved in 2007. They would be resubmitting because there's been a lot of changes in water requirements, and so this is sort of split up on the match lines of the plans. The heart of it is right in the middle there, and the total acreage is 8.06, which is a sizable park as well, primarily a passive park with picnicking opportunities. Again, the full working drawings were already approved, so there wasn't much we could do to try and, reorient this as much as possible. So
So even
Just a
though-
question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask, so even though they might be resubmitting, we can't apply the new Quimby rules about acreage to them?
No, we can't, because they've already been conditioned
Okay.
to the old.
Figured
yes.
I'd ask.
Yeah.
My question was, it says Newport Estates, this says Cottonwood.
Yeah, I dug a little deeper, and apparently they're naming the community now Cottonwood, so,
So it's not Newport Estates
no, it's been
anymore.
changed.
And another quick question, you have Evans Road, what's the cross street here?
This is, let's see,
In the south part of
it
it?
says Rim Creek Path. I'm not terribly familiar with that road, though. You know, when I get you guys a vicinity map, I'll provide the cross street,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Sunwood?
Sunwood,
It's also city.
excuse me. The concept was approved previously by the county. However, the developer, they've exceeded there's a statute of time in which their map will last. And so they're resubmitting and are willing to reconsider the layout of this. They aren't conditioned they don't have to make it any bigger. They do meet the 5 per thousand. But this particular layout incorporated in the lower right-hand corner a pretty sizable basin because they have a lot of on-site water management that they have to deal with. What they are going to do, though, is resubmit this plan and move the basin further up and make it more linear. So it'll be more toward where you see a tot lot on the north end there of the image, and along the side, which will provide more open, usable park space. We're expecting that resubmittal any day now. We met with them about 3 weeks ago, I think just before the holidays, and they're eager to move on this as well. It's not a big park, but they know
Only
that.
1.3 acres?
That's correct. Yeah.
I have a question for you. And I've seen this, where unfortunately, sometimes they get it too far out with a retention basin. As my understanding is that can be at the discretion of the governing body to either allow that to happen or not. It doesn't have to be used as a park or a ball field or something like that, because there's nothing worse than seeing a ball field you can't use 6 months out of the year because it's too wet.
Right.
And I think I've read somewhere that it can be at the discretion of the planning department to either say yay or nay to this and have them move, like you said, they're moving it so that you'll have a bigger footprint there. That's great. I think that should be required.
Yeah, and this is considered a minor adjustment to the map, so they aren't doing a full resubmittal. If they did a full resubmittal, we could make them do lots of different things with the park. So, but this is probably the best we're going to get from them. Heritage Lakes project is a very sizable project. Yeah, almost 20 acres.
Almost 20 acres.
This falls within the Valleywide LLMD. It was previously approved. Last we heard, the developer was still working through conceptual plans with Valleywide. So they still have some ways to go, but it's a very big tract, meaning there's a lot of homes in there that need to get built before they're even required to build the park. Keep in mind that there was a lot of water mitigation they needed to do on this site, which is why you see most of these soccer fields that are set down in the grade, because that's effectively a basin of sorts. The likelihood that this would fill up would have to really it coincide with like a 100-year storm event. It's not terribly likely, but when it does happen, there is some cost to repair it. But everything above the grade, so the same grade as the parking lot, would stay dry as a bone. Again, this is just the initial conceptual that was provided. They're still trying to hash out what they want to see done here.
This sort of reminds me of the park that we went up to on our tour there, where you have the fields down below and then you have the buildings up. It can be nice.
Yes. Yes.
This raises a question we were talking about just before the meeting. How many acres does a regular size soccer field need?
It's not acres, it's more in terms of feet. It's about 180 feet by 270, if I'm not mistaken. That's the FIFA regulation size.
So that's essentially what we're looking at here with each
Yeah,
of these.
these three that you see here are regulation size.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Talavera, this is one that I had to scrap up some photo imagery of. Very old project, and there hasn't been a whole lot of signs of revitalization, but what is notable about this project is the little green component is the dedicated park, which would be developed. The yellow area that I've highlighted is open space. So similar to what's happening with the Menifee Heights project, this piece would be dedicated to the city for trails or just conservation area, whatever we'd like to use it for. It would be city property, but undeveloped. Whereas the park north of that, which is the count of 2.7 acres, is to be fully developed. Again, poor map, but this is an old project. This one was purchased by CV Communities and contains a sizable park of 9.4 acres. Not a lot of detail on it. We would be hoping for a conceptual and final map sometime in the near future. We realize CV is working on 2 other big projects in town, so they probably are waiting a little bit on this one, seeing how their sales go for homes, or if they're going to sell it to someone who's going to build. Strata, this one had some renewed interest. Originally, the map that was approved had 2 parks that separated or split this 5.15 acres. We met with Strata before the holiday break and talked to them about this park concept in the middle. As you see here on the screen, there's this big white area, and then there's a long rectangular area above that. That's a basin. And my concern was, well, it's difficult to maintain a park that abuts or is adjacent to people's backyards, 1, at the same grade, and then 2, also adjacent to a basin, meaning I only have 2 sides of the park that are open to right-of-way. So when we met with them, we said, hey, we'd like to see you reorganize this park a bit. And they complied. And so they're working on a revision, and we'll be submitting a revised track map to us, which will only have essentially, it'll allow for access from 3 sides by right-of-way, which should be a lot better for maintenance and other uses. So this one's forthcoming. We'll bring it back to the commission when it's ready for conceptual review.
Yes, Rick?
Is this up in the northern part? It seems like it was Palomar and
Yes.
Menifee Road?
Yes,
Why they need parks up there?
yes.
We need desperately parks up there. Yes, thank you.
Cantilena, this one's sort of stagnant right now. Again, a pretty good-sized park. I've outlined the park area in red there. This was a phasing map, so it was the best one I could find that had clear lines on it. But you can see this is down near Scott Road, and again, there's a park shortage down on that end as well. But there hasn't been a lot of movement by the developer on this. I think Shops at Scott and some of those other projects may stir or spur some more interest from the developers to start moving these projects. For the next 2 track maps, we couldn't find any maps or renderings of the park sites or plans, but I'm going to keep looking. If I find those, I'll bring them to you. But these 2 were fairly small and were considered originally quite some time ago. And as you can see on one of them for Golden Meadows, 3 parks that comprises 4.7 acres means they're going to be very small parks. So we're going to be looking to combine those if we can. And then the last one that's on the horizon is the Fleming Ranch project. As you guys know, this is adjacent to the 215 freeway. 3 very sizable parks. Final map and conceptual are pending. We're still determining if we can coerce these folks to combine and get a larger regional park in there. That'd be perfect. But even then, each of these independently are good-sized parks to do something with. This is, of course, a master plan community, early phases of it, but this has some good potential being a very good project.
28.3 acres. That is considerable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that concludes my overview of the PIP. We can certainly bring these back as changes occur. I would say on a monthly basis might be best,
That's what I was thinking. If we
depending
could
on.
get this revamped every month, just to keep us up to date on what's happening to them. Eventually, we'll be meeting twice a month, but if you just do it once a month, that would, I think, keep us up. Okay, that brings us to community services, 9.1, parks, trails, open space, master plan.
I placed this on the agenda as a standing item for the next 9 months, so that way you guys can get an update of what the consultant's been doing. The only update I have today is that we did have our kickoff meeting racking my brain, last week on the 13th, and right now staff is compiling what the consultants identified as an RFI, a request for information, collecting all of our inventory, and then we have a tour scheduled with them on February 9th. To hit as many of the parks within the city as possible, and that includes not only city parks, but valley-wide parks, because it's part of the full inventory of publicly accessible parks, so it would not include HOAs. After that, they'll move into the next phase, which is starting to do some analysis and overlay of demographic information. So that's my update for that.
Thank you. Is there any, I would think that it would not be a bad idea if they would come and talk to us, say quarterly, so that we get an idea from them, from the horse's mouth, so to speak, exactly what they're doing and what they're planning?
Sure, we're going to try to find ways to consolidate their visits with, say, like maybe there's a joint meeting with both commissions, Planning and Park and Rec and Trails Commission, so we minimize their visits because they have a predetermined number of visits that they make as part of their proposal, but certainly updating you will be priority.
Thank you. And that brings us to the next, which is Capital Improvements Program update.
I'll go ahead and turn that over to Alan.
Thank you. Good evening. I'll be presenting park project updates. Sorry, pardon me. The first slide you see is Laurmarsh Park. The planter renovation is finally completed. There's 3 pictures. There's a before and 2 after pictures. This one consisted of a point-to-point drip irrigation system, 700 drought-tolerant plants, 3 DG pathways were installed, 2 railwood grain vinyl fencing along the planters. There were 4 planters, but 3 were vinyl fencing was installed, and over 150 cubic yards of planter mulch was installed over there at the park. Oh, something went wrong with my slides. Well, ELP Peterson planter renovation was completed too. Also, this one got a 2 rail wood grain vinyl fencing, point-to-point drip irrigation, 600 drought-tolerant plants. The old chain link fencing along Luxor Road was removed, and over 100 cubic yards of planter mulch was installed for this one. Yeah. Audie Murphy Ranch Sports Park, the new park furnishings. This one was originally installed with wood park furnishings. The new equipment was slotted steel, epoxy powder coated with a 20-year structural and a 7-year warranty. True bolt wedge anchors with 3,400 pounds tension strength was installed, and 31 trash receptacles, 15 6-foot benches, and 3 8-foot benches were installed. At Nova Park, we installed a new park monument sign. This was precast with anti-graffiti coating and weighed about 5,000 pounds. This is a TDP playground resurfacing project. These 4 slides are from Nova Park. The top left picture was the original playground servicing, probably over 10 years old, 11 years old. And this one was 3/4 of it was a playground, the rubber servicing, and the other quarter was just playground sand. And so it just pictures of the progress. Top right corner was site prep. Bottom left was the base layer. This was the actual recycled tires. And the bottom right was a completed picture. Next is EL Pete Peterson Park. There's 2 playground structures there. These set of slides are for the 5 to 12-year-old ones. Top right corner was site prep. This was unique. This one had wood chip mulch, and so what we did was we recycled it and used it for the planters too. Top right corner was they used road base type 2 as the sub base layer. Bottom right corner, left corner was the recycled tire mulch, or recycled tire rubber, and bottom right was completed. And this was, these slides are for the 2 to 5-year-old playground structure. Top left, you can see the mulch. Top right is they're doing grading of the road type 2 base. Bottom left, you can see them applying the recycled rubber, and the bottom right is a completed picture. Lazy Creek Park, this one also has 2 playground structures, and this one should be completed sometime next week, Monday or Tuesday. In progress right now. That's it. Sorry for the pictures.
Yes, Rick? Did you want? No. Oh, I'm sorry. Any questions? Please.
If I can just add something on the playground resurfacing project, because there's been plenty of questions regarding the materials that are used for this. The actual recycled product is the sub layer, which is the chopped up tires. It's basically chopped up and cleaned tires that are put in there for absorption, fall absorption. The top layer is a refined product of plastic with a essentially a finish binder. It's colored, and then so a lot of the questions have been about rubber product and the potential for it to cause cancer. The reality is that product that could cause cancer is approximately 12 inches down below where the contact with the kids would be, and there isn't any conclusive evidence that it even does cause it. So in case you get questions about that, there's some facts to put behind the city's decision to use this product.
Thank you. Brings us to item 10, Commissioner reports on committee activities. Anyone? Hearing none, let's go to future agenda requests from commissioners.
The only
Go ahead.
request I would have is to, in this PIP, if you could maybe send us, like you said, the area, so we can kind of pinpoint where exactly they are. That'd be great.
I do have a question. Has Valleywide used any of that extra money that was allocated for them?
Quite a bit, and we can at the next meeting bring the status of both the base contract as well as the additional work contract.
That'd be something to see.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to bring up a couple of things. The question of using prefab restrooms in some of the parks that we have that do not have restrooms. I know it's an expensive proposition, but it's a possibility. And I would like to find out what the balance of funds is that's available, diff funds for parks and for trails. I know they're different, and or any other funding that we might have. So if you could put that on somewhere. I would think that we're going to begin meeting twice a month in March. By that time, the city arrangement of how to go through it would take place. I would also like to put on the agenda for next time the docents program possibility. Since we're having problems in multiple places, if we could get people to be there, it might alleviate some of it. And if maybe we could have a, something on Nova Park to see what's going on there, since that person was concerned about it.
Would it be possible to
Yes, Tom.
see if the sheriff has any reports? We could get an idea what the statistics are on it?
Yeah, we can inquire based off their database.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so we could put those on the future agenda items, but something like the docents, I think we should do right away. Start working on that. Anything else? Hearing nothing, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
I'm sorry, and this doesn't have to be part of the meeting, but just an announcement that there's a caregiver community workshop that the Senior Advisory Committee and the city are putting on jointly on February 4th, and I do have flyers here if you want to take them with you. It'll be over at the St. Vincent Furor Catholic Church Parish Hall at 10 a.m. So I have plenty of flyers. We're printing more flyers.
Well, why don't you just send 4 down?
I have extras too, so feel free to take them. I can email this to you too if it's easier for you to forward it on to people you know.
It is.
Okay.